So I think there are a number of different areas that oil readiness actually cover. There's the policy and regulatory framework elements, which are making sure that we are at best standard, best international standards. So there's that thread of work. But then there are also a range of other services that we as a government need to make sure that we are able to dovetail and work with an oil industry in the future, such as across infrastructure. We also need to think about emergency response and security, but also socio-economic and local content. And we have got those various strands moving, which is your next question, I know, but that's two big areas. But then there's some very project-specific tasks. And for those, in terms of oil readiness, it's about making sure that we have the right resources at hand to deal with these various elements of the project as they come into us over a period of time. And that journey's already started. So I would say they're the main areas of oil readiness, which is a very short summary of a very big work plan. The end outcome really is that we have a successful, hopefully, oil and gas industry in the Falkland Islands.
When we talk about oil readiness, I think people think about the government's work in relation to oil readiness, but actually the Falkland Islands has to get ready for oil, and that includes the private sector, who will have opportunity, but also be able to participate in local content. And we really need the private sector mobilising as we're getting closer and closer to decisions being made about the future of oil and gas in the Falkland Islands.
We do have extant legislation right now, the Offshore Minerals Ordinance, various regulations. The issues we've got are that we need to modernise them and update them so they're effectively what we call post-Macondo and equivalent to North Sea oil. Because we all care about the environment of the Falkland Islands, and we don't want to see this industry embarked upon on anything less than a very high standard. There was a policy decision, for example, to split out the Offshore Minerals Ordinance into three key areas, looking at licensing itself, but then health and safety, and then the environment. And we have prioritised health and safety, the safety case and all the regulations. That work has started in earnest and significant progress has been made. We'll then come to probably environment next, and we've just had a new team member join that's their area of speciality, so they'll be able to pick up the work where that got to previously and start to move ahead, and then we'll come to licensing. But they'll all move together. That's just the main regulatory framework. Navitas have been meeting already quite routinely with the likes of the Director of Public Works and Commercial and Development, because these are key areas that they need to be sure that the Falkland Islands as a country is ready for.
Whilst we have not updated our full suite of legislation around the health and safety and the environment, as Andrea has mentioned. But what we have done is said to Navitas that we expect these standards to be met in terms of your development, so that we're making sure that they are working to the standards that we will be legislating for.
We have received the environmental impact statement. That statement has gone out to various groups, including our own Environment Department, to review for legislative compliance. Once that's completed, we will take a paper to Executive Council and seek to go out to public consultation. That has a statutory 42-day period, followed by a 28-day period for Navitas to respond. In parallel, so that gives all of the public the opportunity to review that. That is a critical document that has to be in place and at the right standard for FIG to consider approving a field development plan. In parallel to that, all of the work has been done on the field development plan. So the minerals team and our external advisors have been reviewing the substantive field development plan and all of the annexes, technical documents that support it, over the past 4 or 5 months. That's been going on quietly in the background. That is the plan for the northern part of the area. So the first part of their project. So things like that are happening, and potentially the IS could be, ready in the third quarter of 2024 for final EXCO consideration. The field development plan will technically probably be ready in the next 4 to 6 weeks, but will it be ready in its entirety? Possibly not, because there are elements that Navitas will need to continue to work on and provide to us to make sure we're satisfied.
We absolutely will need to take a decision, on the field development plan, on the environmental impact statement, and also on the financial plan that Navitas put together to deliver Project Sea Lion. And in a sense, Navitas, as long as we're happy to renew their production licenses, Navitas can take as long as they like over this. Navitas have set themselves a really ambitious timetable to get this work done by, but we will only accept it and take decisions on that work if we think it's good enough. We have to make sure that we're absolutely confident and positive that what we have is something that will absolutely work for the Falkland Islands.
The ambition to diversify our economy in order to secure oil and gas industry has been an ambition of the Falkland Islands Government for as long as I can remember. And no elected government has yet removed that. So, from that perspective, I think it remains of significant public interest. We believe that it's something that we could do here, to best standards, and use the revenues from that actually to do a lot of good for the wider environment. There'll be enormous opportunity all over the Falklands, East, West Falklands, Stanley, for people to provide all their feedback to make sure that they are content, that any concerns they have, are properly considered and responded to.
Once we agree that we are doing this, we are setting ourselves on a path for the next 20 or 30 years, and that's not to say that there won't be kind of engagement, all the way through that period with the community, because of course they will. This is the Falklands. It's really, it's really fantastic that we have such a direct engagement with the community, because it's it's kind of small, vibrant, and has an opinion on everything. But this is direction setting for the Falkland Islands, and this is important. So the community do need to talk to us, and we need to talk to the community, because it is that important.
So I think when people think, nothing's been happening and no one... There's actually very good reason why things probably slowed down, both in FIG and out with FIG. I think since Navitas came to the table and became the operator with Rockhopper, things have changed massively. Obviously, reason that Minerals has moved, it hasn't been closed. There is no closure of anything. We basically handed over a building to IT, and the facilities are now in DNR in a suitable space there. We actually currently have 4 team members. We're on a journey within the next couple of months or so to have a significant team. Of course, is that enough for something this big? No. And one of the tasks that we have to look at is setting out a plan for how we would stand up a new minerals, or not new, a minerals directorate in its own right again, which is a task that will fall to me and the team. Because at the moment we're still at this sort of what I call a transitional period, where the project is not quite well formed enough yet for there to be a clear it's a go. And so from an FIG perspective, we don't want to stand up a new directorate just yet until we're ready. Plus, we need to think about for the future, how does that need to look? How do we need to structure it? And it will be different to what we have now. Nothing's closed. Actually, we're getting on with things. There was a period of stagnation. I think we can all accept that happened. But there's certainly been no stagnation for the last 12 months.
Minerals was effectively mothballed for a number of years, and we've had to stand it back up. And in standing it back up, we've chosen to do things a little bit differently. And if we get put to the stage of project sanction, we will again then have to do things a little bit differently again. But I think the team are getting through an awful lot of work, and using the advisors that we have back in the UK to help them with that work. So, although the team sounds small and perfectly formed, it's actually much bigger, because we're relying on an awful lot of advisors back in the UK who are experts in the field and are guiding us along the way.